Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2024.
2024.
Yes.
Yes.
We did it.
It's
we,
a year.
We made it.
We're here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
Welcome again to another episode of Beyond a Thought podcast, where we're talking about issues you're probably thinking about. My name is Lynette.
And my name is Z.
Welcome to 2024.
Yes.
Today we are continuing maybe our conversations on relationships, we did last year.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Talk about sex.
Yep.
So the last episode we've been talking about sex. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I got a lot of feedback from that episode.
Did you?
Actually. Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great. That's
We'll take some time to
go through it.
Yeah.
But it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
And I really hope that you guys enjoyed it and you got some nuggets from it.
Mm-hmm.
I got some feedback as well.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But I know it's a topic that a lot of people want to talk about.
Yes.
But we don't really, I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that was a conversation starter for most of you. And you got the chance to also engage with your friends and your family about it. If you guys have any more topics that you want us to dive into that's similar or maybe different, go ahead, send us a message, hit us up on our socials. We would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
So today, I guess in the same vein, we're talking about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Zia, both and I are in mixed cultural relationships,
yeah.
marriages.
Yeah.
Z is married to a Ghanaian
strong
man,
Ashanti man.
Kweku.
Yeah.
His name even defines
His
where he's
name.
from.
Kweku.
Kweku. So Z's married to Kweku, and I am married to a Zambian man.
Yes.
From the south. Tony.
Mambwe. Hey. Bantu. He's a Bantu man. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Love it.
Yes. Oh,
yes.
gosh.
So we're in intercultural marriages, and we love it.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its pros and cons that we found.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite, I guess for me, it was quite a journey getting to the marriage itself. So we'll get a little bit into that.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to kind of explore that and how it looks for us.
Yeah.
Again, it's like a conversation starter for yourselves if you're considering getting into an intercultural relationship. Some of the things that we went through, some of the things that we're still going through, challenges, good and bad, or good and not so great, or whatever. Exploring some of those conversations around that. So you want to kick it off?
Yeah. So I guess
or if you want to add something.
Do I want to add anything? No. I think we're okay.
Yeah.
I think for us, I guess we have to start at the genesis. So we both met our spouses at church.
Right? Yes.
And our church in itself is an international church. So when we were there, you met people from all cultures. Everybody there. I think there were almost 50 countries represented at church. So I felt like it was bound to happen that we would marry people that are not from our cultures. I find anyway. But for me, I guess, so my story with Kweku was kind of interesting because even though, let's say I'm from Congo and he's from Ghana, we both never actually grew up in Congo or Ghana.
Okay.
Just because of the way our parents' lives were. His parents worked for the UN, my parents worked for an international organization. So we were born in different countries and moved around until we finally found ourselves in Canada. So our culture thing is tricky because even myself as identifying as I don't know if anybody caught that, but okay. Identifying as Congolese, it's so tricky for me because I don't speak Congolese languages, so I don't really speak Swahili. So we're from the east, so Eastern Congo, you speak Swahili. I don't speak it. I understand it, but I don't speak it. And then just like even certain traditional things, like my parents didn't really raise us up in that, you know. So I'm coming into the marriage with like this very global culture, so to speak. And same with Quick. But I find with Quick was a little bit different.
Did he live in Ghana?
No, he didn't live in Ghana either. But he used to vacation there.
Okay, right.
But the difference is he speaks Tree because his parents spoke to them in Tree.
Okay.
Like for us, my parents didn't speak to us in Tree. They're just like, okay, you're gonna learn French and English.
That's it.
And Swahili, it'll come if it comes. So my siblings only really speak Swahili because they lived in Kenya. They moved to Kenya and moved back to Congo at some point.
Right.
In their adult life, so they had to pick it up.
Right.
But I never did, so I just never picked it up.
Right.
So Kwaku speaks Tree because his parents spoke to him in Tree, and like there's certain cultural things that he does because I think his parents were very passionate about making sure they pass it down.
Yes.
So there's certain things I'm just like, how are you? He's like, it just is what it is, and I'm like, okay, you know. But yeah, so I guess we could kick it off. Like, so what are some of the differences that you notice between you and Tony that like you attribute definitely to like a cultural difference as opposed to just being a man and a woman?
It's for, I mean, I guess for Tony, I can't even say that Tony has. I can only really point to the language with Tony specifically.
What about food?
I mean, I guess food. I mean, he's. So when I think I was very hesitant to eat his food. Tony is not a picky eater. So it was quite easy for me to like get him on board with my food.
Yeah, you finna eat this okra, like
this jollof rice.
This jollof, you'll eat it.
This
watch it.
You will eat it.
This watch it.
And that's it.
This peanut soup.
And fufu, like
but then they have fufu there too, right?
But it's like ugali.
Ugali, yeah.
So, but he was very open when it comes to food. So I guess I could say food, but he was quite open when it comes to food. He's not a picky eater. As long as food and it goes in his tummy and he's full, it's okay.
Yeah.
It tastes good. It's fine. So for him, on his side, it wasn't as tricky in terms of food. But for me, I saw how they eat the fufu, and it's just, Ghana is like one thing must go with another thing, and it cannot go with anything else. Timmy and I always have this conversation. Timmy is
my
in-law, brother-in-law, and we're always like, I think there was one point that we were just going at Tony like, how are you eating ugali with vegetables and stew and sausage and beans and meat? Like, it makes no sense. Like, to a typical Ashanti person, it makes no sense. Yeah. Because fufu must go with soup. Nothing else. Like, why are you eating with stew? Like, it makes no sense. And for him, he's just like, but you eat it with anything. Yeah.
Ugali is like rice.
Exactly. And for me, I had such a challenge with that because I was like, So it took me a long time to start eating like shima. Like that's Tony's, their fufu.
Yeah.
But now I love it. Like I love it. I think after a while, it kind of like it's not even an acquired taste. It's just like, oh, it's nice. It tastes good. It is what it is, and he adds different things to it. So I think I've gotten on board with it, right? I mean, I guess it's language, right? So one of the things that come out of intercultural relationships is that you have children that are, have two different cultures, right?
Well, three technically
because they're born here, right? So like you now have, like I have two girls who are half Ghanaian, half Zambian, but are born here in Canada. So you have that challenge of, now how do I instill the different cultures, or kind of work that out in terms of the two cultures, right? So I think what we've come down to is Tony's like, you speak very fluent Tree, like he speaks very fluent like language with his siblings and his parents, but I think I'm the talker in this relationship, right? Like Tony Tony's his talking is limited. Like he just will talk and then he doesn't want to talk anymore. So for me, my kids are very similar to me in terms of like talking and all of that. So he's like, you talk all the time, so you're always communicating. So you teach them at least they should know some like another language that's aside from English or French. Yeah. So we've recently started incorporating like my language into like the everyday things. Like so they not so much Elsie, but Ellie Grace, my eldest, is getting the mannerism, getting the understanding, getting the gestures. So she's kind of getting those things and she's repeating them. So hopefully something sinks in.
Oh, it will for sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now in terms of like the differences or the noticeable differences.
The noticeable differences. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. For me, it's interesting because I've noticed like, so I guess because with you and Tony, Zambia and Ghana are both Anglophone countries, right?
Yes.
So with us, the difference is that Congo is Francophone and Ghana is Anglophone. So I think I noticed the stark difference when we went to Kenya this Christmas.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, this cultural thing is actually a big deal because so when we went to Kenya, it was a family reunion. So a lot of my family from Congo came to Kenya.
Yeah.
And then we came. And all of my family, like some of them speak English, but a lot of them don't speak English. So it's really like French or Swahili. And Kwiku's French is there, but it's not quite like he can't, we can't talk like this and he'll follow what we're doing. Like, you have to slow down and da-da-da-da-da. So I was like, okay. So he came and like, he had a hard time kind of like integrating himself because of the language barrier, and like my cousins and uncles and aunties, like they'll speak French, but then they'll switch into Swahili. So that was like a big, I should probably ask him about that again. But like I noticed that I'm like, he's probably having a hard time because a few times I see him kind of like just being himself, just kind of listening, but not really getting into And so with the kids, I was like, oh, thank God, at least, because both my kids go to, both of them, all three of them. So Azarel and Maya go to French school and Kyan goes to French daycare. Okay. So them there, it was fine because they were speaking French, even though Canadian French is an anomaly. So all my Canadians that listen, I love you guys, but your French is different from the rest of the world. All the French countries outside of Canada say Canadian French is
the cousins that got lost.
The outlier, really.
Cousins that
decided not to change. They're the ones that said we are staying old French. Yeah. And then everybody else progressed, but Canada said nope, we're staying this way, and that's fine. Do you? But my kids are Canadian French Canadian. So they come with their French Canadian accents, and their cousins are like,
"What is that?
What are you saying?"
C'est quoi ça?
And they're like, "I'm speaking French." They're like, "No, you're right." Well, it was hilarious. They still communicated, so that's fine. But so that's the French. That's just the French English language thing, and so. But during the summer, when Kwiku's family came, and I really thank God for 2023, like we got to really see the family, and I was really able to see like, okay, so this is kind of like Ghanaian culture in a sense, but then Kwiku's parents are not traditional like that, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, oh, okay. Let's say, for example, like something I didn't know, when you're greeting people, when you come into the house, you guys go from
right to left.
Right to left. Why is that a thing? Why does it matter which way I go?
I don't know. And there's a lot of things you can't do with your left hand.
That is like, okay, let's put a pause on the other stories. Let's talk about that. Okay?
Because it's considered that your left hand
is a dirty hand.
Dirty hand, because that's one. Most people have a dominant hand. Right hand,
yes.
Right, so the left hand is used for like wiping your
butt. But you're not. Nobody is there with me. So how do you know if I'm using my left or my right hand?
They're just considering that you may have not washed your hands.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, so
yeah. So we don't left hand. You can't hand anything over with your left hand. You can't do food with your left hand unless you told me one time about your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law.
It's like, is your right hand not functioning?
Yeah. Why are you using your left hand? I'm like, I was using my right hand to measure marinade. You know when you're pouring the thing. If I use my left hand, I might over pour because I'm not very precise with it. I'm using my right hand and I'm mashing this. Like, is why you using your right hand? There's something wrong with your right hand. I'm like, we're fine. Anyway, so
we digress.
But no, we're not digressing. We're still on the topic. So in our household, Quick was like, "Why are you using your left hand? Why are you using your left hand?" to the kids.
Yes,
and the kids are like, "Why shouldn't I use my left hand?" It's
an ingrained thing. It's not even, we don't even think about it.
So do you do that too? Like if Ellie Grace gives you something with your left hand, do you be like, no, give it to me with my right hand? Do you even think about that?
I think I even told her something like that today. There was something she was doing. No, it was yesterday. She was something she was doing. I think she was eating with her left hand. And I'm like, Ellie Grace, your right hand, like she's right-handed.
Yeah.
I was like, just eat with your right hand. And it occurred to me that I was actually saying that, and I was like, no, like that's just no, right? But yeah, it's so deeply ingrained that we don't even consider it a thing. Like it's just that's the first thing that comes out of our mind. Don't use your left hand.
Quick would be like, don't use that. And then like in the beginning, I didn't understand it because I'm like, what do you mean? Like why? Like they're doing something with their right hand. You asked them to give you something. So they're using their free hand. No, for me, it's logical.
You have to
drop whatever you're doing. So he'd be like, no, we had legit arguments over this thing. Because I'm like, so, and I think at this point, Amaya was really young. So we didn't, and at one point we were like, oh, maybe she's left-handed because she started doing things with her left hand. So I'm like, so are you going to tell her that her left hand is dirty? Are you literally going to tell her that? And he's like, but that's not the reason. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why. Because I went to look it up because we were brought up like that. Like, I think for us, like, I think you give things with your right hand because your right hand, but nobody knocks you for giving something with your left hand. Like, no, it's not a thing.
Even in Ghana, a lot of people who are left-handed were kind of like whipped out of it.
Yeah, my mother-in-law. Yeah. So she used to write with her left hand until her sister like forced her to start writing with her right hand. Yeah. But she still does a lot of dominant things with her left hand. Yeah. But like, so for me, like, how is this thing for me? I'm like, how is this? I even asked them, like, logically, me, I'll tell you, I don't use my left hand to wipe my butt because I'm not precise with my left hand. I'm not. My left hand is dead. Like, I don't do anything with it.
We've all been in Ghana. We've all been taught to wipe your butt.
So
with your
I'm
left
like,
hand.
so I'm like, so now that you know that, how do you feel about me giving you stuff with my right hand? Like, how do you feel? He's like, oh, like, jeez, how is this a thing? Yeah. But we had such a big argument about it. It's a thing. So anyway, so that's one of the bigger cultural differences. But even like concept of language, right? Language is a big deal. Yeah. I find that like, and I think it even makes it easier to raise kids when you have the same language almost, because like I remember having this conversation with my neighbors. It's like, our kids are born here, and my coworker said this. He says really interesting. He's like, your kids are born here, they're Canadian, but their heritage is Ghanaian and Congolese, because they can't say that they're Congolese or Ghanaian. Like, what's linking them to Congo or Ghana? They don't have the nationality. So it's a question about their heritage, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So now the question now is like, okay, so their heritage, like, so what are they going to pass down to their kids?
That's it.
You know?
Because then it ends with them.
The language now ends with them. Like, if you can't teach them the language when they're growing and raising their kids, like, what, you know? Yeah. And I was like, man, that really sucks. So now I was like, okay, I probably need to learn some Swahili. But I'm like, it doesn't make any sense for me to learn Swahili now because...
But at least they have French, because
they have French. But French is from France. It's a colonizer's language. It's not really, that. You know what I mean?
I
like,
that.
I'm not trying to be all like, hey, pro-African, but it's true. Like, it's not really, French is not Congolese. It's French. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So at least they have French in the sense that when we go back to Congo, they'll, you know, and then English when we go to Ghana, like, people speak English, but it's not the same. Like, there's certain things that you can.
No, I hear you.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like listen to praise or worship. When you listen to praise and worship in Tree, doesn't it just hit different?
Oh, it does.
Oh, it hits so much differently.
Different. Hey. The accolades they give to God in Tree.
Please come and share.
My gosh. You're just like, you're shook because it's deep, you know?
Yeah.
So no, you can definitely connect differently when it's like your language or like your heritage for sure. But I want to go back to the point where you were talking about like your parents-in-law are not completely like, they're not so traditional in that sense. But my parents are.
Your parents are, yeah.
So what if you want to scale it back a little bit to like when I suggested to my parents that I was going, like, I found this guy that I want to marry. He's from Zambia. My dad said, Zambia? Hey, what's Zambia?
Oh my God!
Where is it?
Where is Zambia? Wow!
Because according to him, like, why can't you just find a Ghanaian guy?
Yeah.
And there's this thing about Ghanaians that I think they really should change. It's so bizarre to me because it's either they're okay with you marrying an Oyibo.
Oh wow, yeah.
With a white person,
yeah.
Rather than marrying somebody else from Africa.
It's white supremacy.
Absolutely.
Flat out. It's white supremacy. Like
flat out.
White people are like the creme de la creme.
So before Tony, I was dating a white guy, and my dad was completely fine with that. And even when we broke up, he said, "Oh, you broke up? I heard you broke up. Like, what happened?" And he asked me all these things. And then I when it came time that I finally told him that, hey, like this is the guy that I'm thinking I'm gonna marry, and I was like, Zambia. And Ashantis are also different when it comes tribally.
I heard that,
right? So within Ghana, there's certain tribes that, hey, who you marrying for Ewe? Like, North.
Oh gosh.
Do not even consider Fanti. Okay, like, they're close enough to Chi, like the Chi and the Fanti is similar enough, except for like they have a Z, we don't. Like it's close enough that they could understand.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe different Takrade, all the Fantis is okay. Accra, you're going too far. You are going on different grounds. Ewe? Oh God. And from the north. Oh, you don't even. So that's within Ghana. How much more you're crossing waters?
Hey, not even to Togo or to Ivory Coast.
My dad said, "What, Gambia? Is it Gambia?" I went to tell my mom that it's Gambia that I want to go and marry from Gambia. Hey. The trouble my parents gave me.
Oh man,
for marrying somebody within Africa that was not Ghanaian.
Oh boy.
So like they're traditional like that, right? Yes, my dad grew up here and for a very long time, and my mom has been here for a bit. But they gave me such a hard time because it came down to just like the nitty-gritties for them. Like, okay, if you now have kids, where will they go? Like if my mom said, "Oh, where am I going to look for them? Am I
going to go to Zambia?
Am I going to Zambia, or am I going?" Like, they came down to those things, and I understand. I could completely understand. But for me, it was just not such. It wasn't a good enough reason for me to be like, therefore, have you talked to this guy? Have you met him? Like, have you actually sat down and have a conversation? Is he a good person? Like, you know what I mean? Does he fear God? Like, all of those things were factors for me. But I could understand what they were saying, and then it came down to like language, and food and all of those things. So they really gave me a hard time when it came to Tony, because it was like all of these things were going through their head, and then they would listen to their fellow Ghanaian parents that also had a child that decided they wanted to go marry.
So they're all there complaining.
They're all there complaining, and it was just spiraling out of control. Like, my dad just like could not. He told me he doesn't know what plane went from Ghana to Zambia. Like, where is he?
These African parents, their language is so flowery.
What
plane went from? What is that? Who cares?
Who cares? Like, who cares?
What is we're here? Oh gosh. And you know what's hilarious for your parents is that they're in Canada. So why are we talking about plane from Ghana to Zambia?
what is happening?
I love that.
So like it was so for me, I could understand where they were coming from, but it was just not enough valid reason for me to be like, okay, I found a good man that loves me, you know. I get all the other stuff valid, but it was just like it can't be enough for me to say no. Like, you know, and I could go get a Ghanaian man and he could treat me horribly.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
Right? And but he's Ashanti. It's okay.
I really don't understand that. Like, I had the same conversation with one of my cousins because same situation. They're like, why are you dating somebody that is not even Congolese, not so our tribe? We're called Bashis.
Oh.
Why are you not even dating someone that's a Mushi? You should be dating someone from our tribe. And I'm like,
you go marry your cousin. You find you marry your cousin. Why does that even
matter? Like, why does that matter? Like, you can marry the person and be miserable for his life.
For all you know.
But you're happy because what does that mean? Like, I understand for them, it's like, oh, we want to pass down traditions and all these things. And I get it because, I know for my kids, like, for example, I'm just thinking, like, when Amaya, Azarel, or Kayan want to get married and we're doing dowry, which first of all, are we even going to do a dowry?
Yeah.
I think yes. But then now I'm like, okay, but what
culture are we going to gleaning from?
You know what I mean? I guess for Amaya, no, it's mainly for Amaya because the man, see, even it depends. Because if she now marries an Indian dude, is the girl that pays the dowry. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah. So
my mom scratching. Yeah, my mom was like, please, don't bring any Mwindi. Mwindi is Indian in Swahili. Don't bring Mwindis into this house. I was just like, oh god.
Me, my parents were Jamaican.
In Jamaican? I come from Toronto.
Toronto people. If you know Toronto people, listen, Toronto Africans,
they know.
And Nigeria. So if
Toronto is like Jamaican or Nigeria.
Toronto people, Jamaica or Nigeria, don't bring them here. Just say, mom, like, relax. It can never be that deep.
My mom said, no Mwindis. Or Bashinois. They shoot Chinese. Oh my mom.
Our parents love them so much.
Bring that. She said. So anyway, so if Amaya were to start marrying an Indian guy, we would not be paying dowry to them, so that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But if it's Azrael or Kion, like which one will we now do? You know what I mean?
But
so
isn't it similar in a way, like where they, like, the guy would be the one paying dowry?
So the guy would be, so I guess, yeah, for Azrael and Kion, if they're going there, then whatever, if she's wherever she's from, you would go with that culture, right?
Yes.
But like with Maya, if the guy is coming to us, then it's like, okay, so which culture are we using? And in terms of similarity, so for example, like, so Quaker with my dowry, they gave us like rapaz, Bible,
same thing,
those kind of things. But my tribe is really based off of cows.
Okay.
Like, how many cows or goats are you bringing? Because we're a pastoral tribe,
right?
So dowries. So in addition to the rapaz and the Bible and all that kind of stuff, he also made a cow, or I think 2 cows. I don't know how many cows.
So like a dowry, like money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Because he brought a cow.
So,
what are we gonna do with this cow in Canada?
What are we doing?
Yeah. So
I have a freezer full of beef
and cow foot and cow head and all those things. Gosh. So even things like that, where it's like, okay, what culture are we using, or what, I think about things like that sometimes. But for me, it's really just what are my kids going to teach to their children? Because now they're like, oh, they're Congolese, they're Ghanaian, but they're also Canadian, and then they meet other people that are mixed like that too.
Absolutely.
Then what? So then now you have like this watered down, or I guess hopefully they'll create their own culture.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and then for me, like, I think, like, okay, for example, when we think about retirement, I'm always like, man, I don't see myself retiring in Canada. It's too cold.
Right.
To honestly, and some people are like, oh, is that the only reason? Like, that's a very important reason. Like,
listen,
this place is cold
right now as we're recording.
Minus
it's
what?
like almost minus 20 outside.
Yeah, it's
it
cold.
Is freezing,
and we're young, and we're saying it's cold. When we get old, and our bones, and not,
it's depressing. It's
dark,
freezing. It's dark.
Cold.
No, like
so,
you get blisters on your face and your feet. There's no way.
And you just, wait. So when we think about retirement, I'm like, yeah, we'll go back home. But then we're like, but where's back home?
Yeah. Where
Ghana?
would you? Yeah.
It's definitely, I don't see myself ever living in Congo, to be honest with you. So I'm like, so it's Ghana. So okay, fine. So go to Ghana. Now I have to speak Tree.
Yeah.
Now I have to learn all these things. And I think for me, I think the difference with us is that like Tony is kind of like malleable, like, you know,
yeah.
Bigu, complete opposite.
Okay.
So now it's like I had to learn how to make certain dishes.
Right.
Like jollof. Like I literally went to Amelia's house to learn how to
jollof rice, right?
The Ghanaian way.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, okay, like just different thing. Like, okay, learning how to cook Ghanaian food.
Right.
Okay, speaking Tree. Learning that when I go and say hi to someone or go to someone's house, I have to start from, what is it, right to left?
Right to left, yeah.
Because if I do the opposite, what did Kwiku bring to us? You know what I mean? Or like when someone comes to your house, you offer them water and you ask them, how was your journey?
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Whereas like over here in my house, Tony's the one who gives water because I forget.
You forget. Me, I had to learn though. I had to learn like, hey, if I have Ghanaian people coming, like especially like if Kwiku's family comes, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then can I offer you some water?
Right.
Give them water and sit down. How was your journey? Like there's a way how to say that in Tree, right? Like I don't know how to say that. Yeah. And then all those things. It's like, wow. Yeah. It's quite a bit. And I didn't realize that he was so I won't say Kwiku's traditional, but he has, for someone that didn't grow up in Ghana,
I feel like he wants to keep the elements.
He does. Yeah. He wants to keep the elements. He wants to keep them going. But he speaks Tree, but he's not speaking Tree for the kid.
Okay, so maybe his Tree's just not that fluent. So
but it doesn't matter. Jai is like what? Go or call. Jai is stop. Call is
go.
Yeah,
just
simple something. Sit down, Tanase. Right?
Yeah.
Leaving me some. Look at me. Oh,
good for you, man.
Hello.
The whole Ghanaian
When my parents-in-law were here, the way I was listening, I'm like, I'm gonna learn some small things. Yeah. So going to Ghana, it's like, okay, if we go and we retire in Ghana, it's like, oh, learning all these different things and being an outsider, which I don't particularly like, but I don't know. I'd rather be black in Africa than
basically
black in Canada.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So yeah, those are a few things that I think people need to consider. But I think the blessing is just having also like just the richness of culture.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like being able to incorporate this. Like even in our house, like I listen to a lot of Congolese music. So sometimes we'll be at home and Mama will be like, Mommy, I want to listen to it. And she'll actually tell me the name of the song and then we'll put it on and then like, you know, they're trying to learn the Congolese moves and stuff. It's so funny.
She said the Ghana's blocking their
rhythm. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wish, you know, I'm not going to embarrass us around. So Kenya, my family likes to dance a lot.
Yes.
We are all there dancing. Abaya as well. I was just like, God, I'm feeling embarrassed. My children are not dancing according to rhythm. They're dancing like they're white.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, no offense to white people, but you guys' rhythm is not like that. So I'm like, okay. And then, like you said, they're playing Mutuashi. So everybody's doing, you know, as well. I was like, hey, he's doing something, he falls. I'm like, oh gosh. Oh gosh. And then my uncle got it on camera. He's like, look, I recorded it. I'm like, God, I really blocked it too.
Ghana is blocking it.
Because none of my nephews and nieces were falling.
We are stiff as a rod, okay? Ghanaian Ashantis. Like our traditional dances are very stiff.
But what's it called? The
Adwa?
Yeah, you guys do the hip.
It's very stiff.
Oh,
it's very. Tony's just like,
just a little.
Move a little. We are. So, I mean, I haven't seen the rhythm of my children yet.
Oh gosh.
We hope.
Just play something and see if they clap according to beat. If they do, Because two of my kids don't be doing that. Like, as a rule. Amaya at least a little bit, she does something. She's getting there. Yeah. That's what we like.
Like the beat is going. Oh.
I just look at it like it's definitely not my side of the family. It's you guys. It's you guys up in there.
You see, like, so I get the fact that there are challenges in anything. There's challenges and there's pros and there's cons, right? There's a lot of cons. There's a lot of pros when it comes to intermarrying different cultures. But it is, like you said, there's richness to it. There's different perspectives that you may have never even thought of, especially if like you're from one culture, the same tribe, wherever. You think of things in the same way, right? Because like you've been around the same things, you've talked about the same people, like this is the same things, right? Yeah. So like the perspectives are definitely different. Tony comes from a big family, whereas when they have a slew of things like that going on in their relationships, whereas I come from a smaller family. And I mean, when my brother and I like meet up, it's constant banter. But for them, there's different perspectives. And there's different aspects that are added to the conversation, as opposed to like one-sided all the time. And I think it's fun. I personally love it, obviously. Married to
here we are. Yeah.
But I also get how it could be challenging, especially when it comes to language barriers and stuff. Like even Tony's like, I mean, I'm trying my best. I can get the mannerism, I can understand like the concept of what he's talking about when he talks to his family. But obviously, I honestly find the language also pretty easy to kind of grasp, because it's almost very straightforward, as opposed to there's no rolling of the tongue or anything that's involved in it. So in that sense, it's a little similar to Chi, because Chi there's not much rolling of the tongue. It's very sharp. So I do try to kind of follow it. He talks a lot on the phone too with his family. His families they're not everywhere. Necessarily everywhere. They're not necessarily here. Whereas my brother is close enough to come and visit, and him and I have a conversation all the time. And even when I call my mom on the phone, like she talks to the girls in Chi. So
nice.
So like they laugh about it or whatever. Like when Ellie Grace is back, oh, how to say? She's like, yeah, like she at least can understand some of the mannerisms and things. So hopefully, hopefully something sticks. Yeah.
I'm sure it will.
Able to, and even like we're able to like even take them back home just to see. Yeah. Because I think what a lot, especially maybe for first generation Ghanaians, at least for my parents, we only got to know Chi, like our language, because we lived there for a little bit. But and then we moved back, I think 6 or 7 years later. So like we had a good chunk of time where we could actually learn it, Chi very well. But I find that if we were here, like I came when I was like 7, if I was here for the long haul for majority of the time and I didn't go back to Ghana, I believe that you wouldn't have been able to. I would have lost the Chi. Like I would have understood it, but not spoke it. Yeah. Mainly, and I think that happens in a lot of Ghanaian homes where the parents themselves are really trying to speak English themselves, right? They're trying to learn English, especially first generation like a parent, trying to learn the language themselves, and they almost feel she has like a thick accent attached to it, and because there's not much of the rolling of the tongue similar to like English or Canadian English, a lot of them find it embarrassing to teach their kids Chi, because they feel like the accent's gonna stick to it, and then they won't be able to integrate properly into society. So they will speak the language, but not necessarily when they go somewhere it's just English, or when it's spoken to us, we just will respond in English.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of getting like we have mutual friends who understand it but can't necessarily speak it.
Yeah.
Because there's that fear from the parents that the accent might stick to their tree as thick as theirs are. So there's a lot of that. Whereas now we would rather speak to them in our language, so that because English they will know anyways, right? And I think that's what we found out, that English they will know.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. Yeah,
and then there's TV in English.
There's TV, there's everything. So they'll know that anyways. You'll find like Indian people, Chinese people, a lot of people that I know, like the first language they learn is their language first, because they understand that when they go out there, they're gonna have to speak. Yeah, my mom says, hey, teach them Chio. Like if you're somewhere and then they do something
wrong, exactly.
They do something wrong, and you can't even talk to them in your language for them to understand anything.
Yeah, that's the most important one when you want to be insulted. For me, I know all the insults in Swahili because my mom, the way she used to insult us, especially because in Nigeria, she'll be in Swahili, and we're like, okay, that's all I know in Swahili, insults. Yeah. So at least that one, right?
Yeah. I think one of the other challenges for me, and we're talking a lot about language because that I think for me at least is one of the dominant things of the culture. Absolutely. Right? And then and those are the things that kind of are blaring when you have intercultural marriages. Like it just comes out because like it's language is everything, right? You use language for a lot of things. To express yourself. Yeah. So I think for me, and I've had this conversation with a mutual friend of ours, that how do I incorporate Chi in a gentle way? Because Chi is a very harsh,
it's a very strong language.
It's a very strong language. So because in English, like I'm very like I try to be gentle with my kids. How do I now speak Chi in a very gentle way? Whereas to me, it wasn't spoken to me gently, right? So even Jai, like stop, it's very harsh, right?
Even the way you guys say it, let's pray.
Yeah, like it's so demurring.
Yeah,
like, it's just so
it's dominating. It's a dominating,
very dominating language, right? Yeah. So when those are some of the things that I think about, especially when it comes to the language part. Like how can I be gentle with even the Chi? Like,
my sister-in-law is really sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
My sister-in-law, so Kweku's older sister, is really good with that because she's teaching her son Cree.
Yeah.
But like, even when I hear her speak it, like it doesn't sound. Maybe also because her accent is not quite very strong. Okay. But like she prays with him in Tree, alphabet in Tree.
Okay, nice.
Like how do you say please, thank you, teaching him types of food and everything. To the point where I'm just looking at him, I'm like, this first of all, he's a genius already. Like at 2 years old, he knows how to like. Wow. That's mind blowing. Shout out to you, sis. So like those are the kind of things that she's teaching, and I find it's so beautiful because he'll say, "Oh, medase mommy," or "Medase mama," or "Food. Can I have some food, please?" I'll say please and Pacho. So there you go. So things like that, like it doesn't have to be. I think also because of the way like you were brought up, like grandma, grandpa, like everything is just do it this way, do it that way, do it this way. So that's probably a way that you can incorporate it. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been trying to do it in a more gentler way. And you could sometimes you only do it the way you've been taught, but so going against the grain is quite challenging. Yeah. But Ellie Grace finds it funny. Like mommy jai, like So I mean, there are challenges to intercultural marriages, but there's also so many beauty. There's so much beauty to it, right? The people, right? You get to know different cultures, and you can get to travel to different places too, right? Because, for example, like if you hadn't married Tony, what business would you have going to Zambia?
Nothing.
None. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like same with me. Like, if I hadn't married Kweku, or if Kweku hadn't married me, like, granted, my parents moved around a bit, but the countries we've been to in Africa, because my parents have moved around.
Yeah.
But, like, going to Ghana, like, if I didn't marry a Ghanaian man, why would I be going to Ghana?
That's it.
No reason whatsoever.
No.
So even just that, just expanding your mind of being able to accept different cultures and just the richness of culture in general. Like, we're talking about African countries because we're both African, but like, even like, you know, a white person marrying a Chinese person, or whatever. Like, it's still recognizing that, we're from different cultures, but at the end of the day, we're still people. That's it. You know, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I think for us, like, the common denominator is the fact that, like, we all believe in Christ. Like, that's the paramount for us.
That's the top tier for us.
Yeah. So everything else, all the cultural nuances and everything, like, there's certain things that I remember Kweku's parents were like, we're not going to do this in our dowry, was the libation situation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so they're like, we're not going to do that because that doesn't honor God and stuff like that. So it's like, that's the first thing that we are honoring is God. Yeah. And if certain things in our cultures don't fall in line with that, we kick them out.
Kick them out. Yeah, basically.
Very plain and simple.
Yeah.
So having that commonality, I think, is important.
Yeah. I mean, I think if anybody wants to consider it, I think having a full conversation about, you know, and then coming to terms with what you can compromise with and what you just absolutely cannot. If there's this aspect of it that you just like, this is a deal breaker, I can't live with this, or I just couldn't see myself not speaking Chi to my partner at all. Yeah. Then you might not want to marry somebody outside your, you know, it doesn't make sense. Like, because if you really miss that, like, I love speaking Chi, I love it. Like, when I get with my friends who speak Chi and who speak my language, like, we speak it, and Tony's completely fine with that because he speaks his language when he speaks to his friends and stuff. But if you have a challenge with, like, I can't see myself with anybody else but, like, somebody from my country, then you might want to think about, you know, the aspects of that and narrow it down as much as possible, and, you know, want to talk to a guy that is just Ghanaian or just Congolese or like, you know, and have those parameters around it so that you're clearly identifying where you want to fall, as opposed to, but if it's just like, oh, I like his personality and, like, you know, the things that around it are not as stringent for you, then maybe you might want to consider it. So
that's a good note.
Yeah,
good way to end our day today.
Yeah, but let us know if there's anything that we've missed, or aspects that we haven't talked about that's also that we should maybe think about as well. I mean, we're in our marriages and we're staying in it. It's a wrap for us.
We're not going anywhere.
We're done.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
The streets are hard,
especially now post pandemic. But you know what? We're done. But if you are considering it and you have any questions, we're here. We can answer them as much as we can. Yeah. That's it from us. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.